Welcome to this tactical explainer. Today, we are stepping onto the pitch to break down a match that, well, on paper, looked like just the final game of the group stage. But in reality, it was a massive diagnostic test for the USMNT. We're talking about Turkey's stunning 3-2 victory over the United States. We're going to deconstruct the squad depth, analyze the crucial, game-changing moments, and figure out exactly what this means as the real tournament gets underway. Okay, let's dive right in.
90 plus 8. Yeah, we're actually starting this breakdown at the very end of the game. 90 minutes of regulation played, 8 minutes of stoppage time. The USA and Turkey are deadlocked at 2-2. Now, both teams already know their tournament fates, but the intensity out there? Absolutely boiling over. And then, literally on the very last kick of the entire match, just total chaos. Kaan Ayhan redirects a pass across the face of the goal, somehow turning the ball over the line even though there are 3 US defenders scrambling right there in the box. Final kick, final second, Turkey 3, USA 2. It's just a breathtaking climax. But to truly understand how we even got to that 98th minute, we have to look at the completely bizarre stakes of this matchup.
Section 1, 9 changes. Different team. The context of the clash. So let's hit rewind for a second and look at the macro context, because the stakes here were incredibly unusual for a World Cup game. You had the stark contrast between the two dugouts. On one side, the USA had already dominated. They won Group D, beating Paraguay and Australia. They literally had nothing to gain in the standings. On the flip side, Turkey had already been eliminated after losing their first 2 matches. But here's the really critical detail. Turkey actually largely dominated both of those previous matches statistically. So you've got a US team with absolutely nothing to gain, facing off against a pride-wounded Turkish team that has absolutely nothing to lose. And that whole dynamic brings us to a massive number, 9. Because the USA had already locked up the group, manager Mauricio Pochettino made the tactical decision to field 9 new starters for this low-stakes game. 9 changes. That is fielding a completely different team, and it meant leaving their absolute superstar, Christian Pulisic, sitting on the bench. Now, on the surface, this was a golden opportunity to test the bench depth, but as we're about to see, that test quickly turned into a chaotic sprint. Section 2. Guler steals the show. A chaotic first half. Let's look at those early exchanges, because history was made almost instantly. The United States drew first blood incredibly fast. Just 3 minutes in, Austin Trusty finds the back of the net. That goal was the Americans' 7th of the tournament, which tied their all-time scoring record for any World Cup before knockout play even begins. But here's the crazy part. Trusty's goal was also the 173rd goal of this entire 2026 World Cup. That single strike officially broke the record for the most combined goals scored in a World Cup tournament, a record that was just set in Qatar 4 years ago, and this tournament crushed it in 4 fewer matches. Just mind-blowing history made in 3 minutes. But Turkey had an answer. Tracking the timeline of this first half. After that 3rd-minute Trusty goal, a 21-year-old Real Madrid rising star named Arda Guler completely takes over. In the 10th minute, Guler equalizes with this brilliant, intricate 2-man move with Barış Alper Yilmaz. Then, jump forward to the 31st minute. Guler is at it again. He sets up a pass that eventually leads to Kukçu's close-range finish. In just a remarkably rapid turnaround, Turkey had exactly 2 shots on target in the entire first half. And guess what? They scored on both of them. That is clinical finishing at the highest possible level from a team that's playing purely for pride. Section 3. The return of Pulisic. The star is back. Heading into the second half, the tension is just palpable. The USA desperately needed a spark, and in the 49th minute, they found one. Sebastian Berhalter strikes this spectacular, vicious shot from 20 yards out, burying it right into the corner to make it 2-2. Game on, and that perfectly set the stage for the moment everyone was waiting for. In the 58th minute, Christian Pulisic replaces Tim Weah. The reports noted that this substitution was met with an absolutely enormous roar from the 70,000 fans packed into Sophie Stadium. Remember, this was his first game action since the first half of their victory over Paraguay almost 2 weeks earlier. The star was finally back on the pitch, and his impact was electric. Looking at these crucial second-half beats. So, Pulisic enters in the 58th minute, and he nearly reclaims the lead in the 63rd. He takes a quick shot off a beautiful pass from Berhalter, but it is agonizingly knocked off the goalpost by Turkey goalkeeper Ugur Can Çakır. Just off the post, not a goal. So incredibly close. And to make matters worse, Brendan Aronson totally botches the resulting sitter from the rebound. That golden chance just evaporated. And because they missed that massive opportunity, Turkey sensed that the door was still wide open. Section 4, testing the squad depth. falling at the final hurdle. Which drops us right back into those chaotic, frantic final moments of the match we talked about earlier. The USA is suddenly in a highly vulnerable position. They are completely out of substitutes, and goal scorer Austin Trusty is visibly hobbling out there with an ankle injury. So here's exactly how Turkey capitalized on that vulnerability. Step 1. Arda Guler, who is easily the stand-up player of the match, opens up space and lets possession roll to Özkan about 25 yards from goal. Step 2. Özkan scoops this really dangerous cross to the far post aimed at Uzun. Step 3. Uzun executes a brilliant pass right back across the face of the goal, completely splitting the legs of a sprawling Matt Turner. Step 4. Kaan Ayhan turns it over the line. It was just a perfectly orchestrated sequence against an exhausted defense that was literally limping to the finish line. And the crucial takeaway from all this boils down to a pretty harsh analytical truth. The USMNT are one team with their best players and an entirely different team without them. You see, this match wasn't just a 3-2 loss. It was a stark wake-up call that exposed a severe lack of bench depth. Before this game, those flawless wins over Paraguay and Australia had basically hidden this vulnerability. But the moment 9 changes were made, the team fell apart at the final hurdle.
Section 5. The knockout road ahead. Sudden death survival.
So we really need to pivot to the macro implications here. What does this depth problem actually mean, now that the group stage is officially in the rearview mirror? Well, the immediate next step is locked in. On Wednesday, July 1st, the USMNT will meet Bosnia and Herzegovina in the round of 32 in Santa Clara, California. With Pulisic healthy and back in the mix, the real USA starting 11 will be back out on the field in front of a massive home crowd and with absolutely everything to play for. But just consider the geographical and tactical gauntlet they have to navigate if they want to reach the final. Step 1, Santa Clara. You win that, it's Step 2, up to Seattle for the round of 16. Win that, Step 3, back down the coast to Inglewood for the quarterfinals. Win that, Step 4, out to Arlington, Texas for the semifinals. The road to glory is mapped out clearly, but every single one of these matches is going to be a ruthless, grueling test of endurance and travel. Which brings us to the most provocative question facing this team today. When the knockout rounds hit and every single match becomes sudden death, is this USA squad actually deep enough to cope with the inevitable injuries, the yellow card suspensions, and the sheer physical need for rotation? Turkey, a team that was already eliminated with literally nothing to play for, just showed the world that the answer might actually be no. The group stage is officially over, folks. The real World Cup begins right now. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope it helps you see beyond the scoreline. We'll see you in the next breakdown.